Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of BookGoodies Author Podcast. I'm your host, Deborah Carney, and I'm here today with a photography book author, Shawn Ingram. Hi, Shawn. How are you?
Hey, Deb. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's finally cooling down here in New York City. How you doing over there? Did you lose any power in Ohio in those last batch of storms?
Luckily, we kept it, but it seemed like everybody around us had it, and we're finally getting temperatures popping down here, too, so quite a relief.
Awesome. So, Shawn, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them what you do, and then we'll get into why you got started writing.
My name is Shawn Ingram. I'm the owner of Shawn Ingram Photography. I do a lot of nature photography, landscape, that kind of stuff. I'm just starting to get into a little bit more portraiture, but the book that I did was some of my rose photography, and I just like getting in touch with nature and kind of sharing people the vision of different things in nature through my eyes and vision. And with the book, this is the first time that I've ever done a book, and basically what I did is I went out and coupled photographs of the roses with different quotes, poems, different types of sayings or whatever that basically incorporate love. I released the book about right around Valentine's Day, so basically the whole concept is roses and love, and kind of coupling the two of them together.
Which is something people do naturally. The rose is usually the global symbol of love. So that was a natural choice to do. Now, how hard was it to pick the sayings or the quotes that went along with the roses?
It wasn't as bad as what I expected. I mean, I expected to spend hours and hours and hours, but you do some Google searches and you look at all the different sayings from the famous people, and it's like, before you know it, you've got a list of more quotes than what you have photographs to go along with them.
Yeah. Was it difficult to choose the flower images that you wanted to go in there?
Yeah, it was. Basically, when I go out and shoot, I shoot tons and tons of photographs. Anybody that, does kind of nature photography or anything like that where they're really into a subject, you'll find out that, with the digital age, it seems like you just shoot tons and tons and tons of content. So, going through and trying to select and narrow it down and, weed out what could be duplicates and try to get a unique experience for the photographs that are contained within the book. That was the hardest part. Once you've got that and, you pull it up in Word and you start putting it all together, it just seemed like it came with a natural flow from there.
That's awesome. And you just brought out, I was going to ask you how you structure, because a lot of our author interviews have been with people with manuscripts, and they don't need to do very much formatting. They just have to do like a page break at the end of a chapter, and a little bit of formatting in front of that. But with a book that includes photos, you have to do a lot more formatting. Can you explain to us how you handled that?
Yeah, basically I use Microsoft Word, and, you lay out your title page, with your information, or and then you kind of go in and you write your intro and all that kind of stuff like you would with a normal book. But then with the pages where I had the photos, I basically placed the photo on the page in a size that, kind of fills the page, and then with enough space underneath it to where I could fit the quote. Okay. And that took a little bit of tweaking and massaging and playing around. I only published the book on Kindle. I'm planning on trying to get it out to the other platforms, but within Kindle you've got tools where you can kind of preview it to see what it would look like on an iPhone or an iPad or one of the Kindle readers, or all that different kind of stuff, and you can see the different sizes, and trying to get it into a page layout to where my quote and my photograph appeared on every page in the right size or whatever. That was the hardest part of the whole thing. But still, it wasn't brain science. I mean, it was pretty straightforward once you got in the swing of it.
Right, and basically you would lay out the page, and then you have to put a page break after the writing on the page, so that the next image didn't flow into the same page and it went out on its own page.
Exactly.
Okay. I know that we talked a lot about doing photo books, and this was your first stab at it. I've done a few, and I've had some that I've had text in and some that I didn't. And I'm finding that I am getting more response from the ones like yours that have a nice quote or a little bit of information about whatever the picture is, and not just be the photographer putting out a 30-page book of nothing but photos.
Yeah, I mean, you can do the coffee table books that have nothing but images on them, but it seems like, at least my thought processing going into this, that it would make more sense if it wasn't just the picture, since people are pulling it in on the Kindle or the different readers or whatever, that they would have some type of text, some kind of context to go along with each photo, instead of it just being photo after photo after photo. Because I don't know, even as a photographer, me personally, if I'm looking at a book that's just photos and there's nothing else to kind of grab my attention or kind of feed me more information as I'm going through, I think my mind kind of gets tired after a while of just looking at photo after photo after photo.
Well, and that brings up a good point, that I've been to websites or flipping through books that they're all photos, and you kind of get photo fatigue, even though they're beautiful and they're wonderful images. You just you're like, okay, I've had enough. Your brain can't handle anymore. Do you have plans to do another book in the future?
I'd like to. I mean, I've got years worth of nature and travel and all that kinds of stuff like that's in my Lightroom catalogs and stuff. It's just finding the time with everything else that I'm trying to jump into, trying to break into portrait photography and all that kind of stuff. I want to get through and call through those images to pull together some ideas for some other books. It's just like everything else in life, just having the time to pull all that stuff together and sit down and just do it.
Yeah, one thing I'm finding is that I'm glad that through the years I started to categorize things based on what I know people would like together, even though this was taken on this trip and this was taken on that trip. Just pulling them all together by topic instead of always by location. And so I've got that part sort of done, but then the next part, like you said, is the culling. So like I went to Antelope Canyon earlier this spring, which is a beautiful arch formation in northern Arizona, and even though it's only a half a mile, I took 900 photos. And I can't put 900 photos up. No one will ever go through them all. Yep. So I have to...
Well, and as photographers, like I was speaking with Vinny about before the podcast, is, sometimes even us, we go out and we take the image. It's hard for us to sit there and, go through and sort all those images just for our own use and, weed them out and everything. And it's...
Yep. And you have to figure out if you want to, this one would be better if it was cropped, this one would be better if it was altered slightly. Do you want to just grab the really good ones and run with it, or do you want to take the ones that could be great and spend the time to work on those to make them better? And that's, that's all part of the process. And we all have limited time in the day, so even though people might think that a photography book is easy to put together, as a reader, you might think, why do I have to pay $9.99 for a photo book when, all they did is put a bunch of photos together? And there's really a lot of back processing that goes in before that, just as much as there is to creating manuscript.
Yep, exactly.
So I know you have a lot of photos of animals. Are you going to try and go in that direction next time, or are you going to stick with flowers, or you haven't decided yet?
I've kind of got ideas on a few different ones. I mean, there's definitely the animal photographs. There's, like you, I'm a big fan of doing butterfly photography. So I've got tons of butterfly photos. I've got tons of flower photos. I've got trips to the Smoky Mountains, so I could do. I've got thoughts of possibly doing some stuff with, like a travel, just to highlight some of the different areas around the Smokies or.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Southeastern Ohio has some wonderful parks and areas that are just gorgeous, and I've spent time photographing a lot in those areas. So, there's a lot of different ideas kind of chugging around up in there, and it's just, like I said, trying to get the time to where I can sit down and just put some focus on it and separate the ideas that are all kind of mushed together right now and make them off. Break them off into pieces that
are manageable.
Actually fit with something that would go into a book. Exactly.
Yeah. With the butterflies, I found one of my best-selling books, and feel free to steal the idea. One of my best-selling books is a photography book about butterflies, and it has the identification of the butterfly underneath the photo, and it also has a short quote or a poem. And if it's a long poem, I have it span several pages so that, when you flip the page, you're still reading the same poem. And that seems to be one of my most popular. So you've got a lot of butterfly books. If you've got them ID'd, that's, one of the things that people seem to like about that particular book is finding out about all the different kinds of butterflies. I know you've probably gone to some conservatories the same way I have, where you go to a butterfly conservatory and you have butterflies that you can't see out in the wild very much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got something like that here in Central Ohio, where they have, it's not an actual butterfly conservatory, but the actual floral conservatory from I think it's April to September, they hatch off various species of butterflies, and they just turn them loose in their tropical area inside the conservatory.
I like that.
You walk through, and you have butterflies landing on your shoulder and on the kids' fingers, and all that, like the common morphos and the tiger. You've got all these just different types of butterflies that aren't native to the area, that are just all over the place in there.
That's really cool. Now, if someone were, I know you've only done one book, but that is a process to do that. If someone were going to start a photography book, what would be your advice to them?
The first thing is don't let it scare you. That was the one thing that held me back, and you were a huge help in getting me pushed along there, and
I made you do it.
I really appreciate that. It took that push, and once I got started, it just kind of clicked through. It was around that time. It was Valentine's Day. The roses seemed like it was a natural thing for that, and I was just able to run with it. Mm-hmm. The second book, it's taken me a while to kind of figure out what I want to do and where I want to go with it and all that kind of stuff. So it's not as easy as that one. Just kind of jumped in, but my biggest thing with anybody would be don't be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid.
Go. Get started. Get your photos together. Like you said, if you've got something where you can have the identification and some quotes or something that can go along with it, start compiling that information together in Word, and don't even worry about the formatting at first. Just pull everything together, and you can go back in and using your control keys, or I forget what the key is on the Mac. You use those keys to do all your page formatting and everything later. Just start compiling all the stuff together, and go through and sort and get it organized after you get everything together.
That's a great idea too. Don't worry about the formatting at first. Just throw the pictures in, and you made a point a while ago about not getting duplicates. I had put together a book on, I forget, lilacs or something, and I used the preview in Word where you could shrink it down to 25%. And I'm looking through and I'm like, wait a minute, that looks familiar. And sure enough, I had used, a couple of photos twice. So, that's the only thing you want to watch out for too, is that you make sure you use, don't duplicate your photos within your book. People will be like, what? They'll consider that probably to be a little sloppy. So, yep. Now, and you chose to go the self-publishing route, and which I encourage people to do because it helps you to get out there and get, something tested. Is that something you are going to continue to do, is the self-publishing, or are you going to look into traditional publishing at all?
No, I'm going to stick with self-publishing. I really don't consider myself a big enough author to where I would even consider the big publishing houses, and after seeing what I can do with this, even if I was a big author, I don't know that I would go that route. I mean, it seems like in today's technology, I have the ability to do anything that a publishing house would do. I have the ability to do that on my own and control it myself, and I don't have to worry about giving somebody else a piece of the cut or whatever. I mean, I just pay my fees where I've self-published, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you have the skills to take care of your cover. That's one thing that people have trouble with, but since you have the Photoshop skills and whatever, you were able to design a nice cover. It
was okay. I think it could have been better, but
well,
I appreciate the thought. But yeah, I mean, if you've got that, or know somebody that you could hire to do that, I mean, I'm not sure what other benefits a big publishing house would give you, that you can't get through, doing it on your own or hiring somebody to farm out pieces that the publishing house would have done. But, I think you can do it for a lot less and still get the reach and everything that they give you.
Okay. All right. Well, Shawn, I'm really thankful to you for coming on our podcast and talking about, putting together a photo book. I have had some people asking about it. And do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with before we sign off?
No, not really. Just, if you've got an idea, go for it. I mean, the biggest detriment or the biggest block that you'll have is just yourself and not doing it. I mean, once you get it out there, get it out there, let people see it, let people, make their own decisions and, see where it goes from there.
Oh, I know one question I wanted to ask you, so I'll wrap it up again in a minute. Now, do you have a separate site for your books, or are they just on your Shawn Ingram site?
It's just on my Shawn Ingram photo site, ShawnIngramPhoto.com.
Okay.
And I just promote it off of there, and I've thrown it out on other sites that I run or I'm a member of or whatever. But for the most part, it's just on my regular blog.
Okay. Once again, thank you for joining us. And for those of you that are listening on iTunes and didn't find it on our website, if you come to BookGoodies.com, you'll be able to find the show notes, and we'll have a link to ShawnIngramPhoto.com. And Shawn, do you have a Facebook page?
Yes, it's basically Facebook.com/Shawn Ingram Photography.
Okay, cool. And you can always come and find the BookGoodies page at actually BookGoodies.com, or you can go to Twitter.com/BookGoodies or Facebook.com/BookGoodies. And I'd like to thank everyone for listening. I'd also like to thank Geekcast.fm for hosting all of our podcasts. And thanks everybody for listening. Let's get your photos together and put together a book. Everybody have a great day. Thanks.